So hello guys, because you from where we stopped last time. So today we will be treating types of input element. We have different input elements. So I'll be able to create a normal form with the name, all those stuffs we normally use. So I'll be talking about two main input element. Form elements. That's the input element. Input element is like where you input your data, then the label element. So the label element is just something that defines what you're going to put in the input. So for example, in this form, this first name they wrote here is the label, while this space for putting it is input. So I'm going to discussing the input and the label. This button here is also an input, but it doesn't have any label. So we'll be discussing all of that today. So label will be quite short, but the input has different types. So I'll be focusing also on the types of input. So let's go into this. So we'll be starting from the label. Just like every other normal tag, the label is denoted with the label element. So the label carries a very special attribute called default attribute. So when I explain input, I'll be putting it. So what this label is just the definition of what you're supposed to put inside the input. So that's just it. So these four will be coming to it now. So we have the input element. The input element has different kinds of input, because you have seen online forms. Online forms have different kinds of input. We can have the checkbox. Like, let me show you a checkbox here. So I'll just be showing you different types. So see different inputs. We can have the normal text. We can have the phone number input. We can have the password. We have the date input. We have, okay, this one is not an input. This is not an input. After showing an input, but this is not an input. Then this sign in button, this is the submit input. So I'll be able to submit the form. Then this is what we call the checkbox, so that you can check and select any one of your choice. Then this is this is called the radio. This is not checkbox. This is not used to select. Then checkbox, you can check multiple things you want to select at the same time. Then we have the range. This is a range input. So different kinds of input. So we'll be treating all of them. So that's just what input is. So let's go here. So the input comes with is a non-closing element. It does not have its own closing tag. It's an empty element. So the input comes with its own type, different types of input elements. So I'll be writing this semantically so that we'll be seeing it. So I'll write it in a different form. But before I start writing it, I'll start with commenting and writing form 2. Then the next line I'll put my H2 so that we can determine the form. So I'll be saying new form. So we start our form from here. We can put the get method, but that the method and the get method and post method, they are not usually useful here because you're learning only HTML. It's mainly in JavaScript and backend. So we don't need it here, so I'm not putting it. So I'll be starting with the first one. So mind you can put this element at one, putting it in p tag so that it can separate it, giving it the space I need. Although I can use break elements, I don't want to use it, but I'll use p tag to do it. There are also like inline elements. They have block elements and they have inline elements. So input tag and label are inline elements. So I'll put inside the p tag. So we have the first side as name, So when you want to put a box, but first let's refresh, let's see what we are doing here. So this is a new form. So under here we've seen a new form. So like I told you, we need to start with a field set. We need to start with a field set first before starting all this. So I'll be putting a field set. Then you can see the format. We have the starting from the H2, then the form elements containing the field set, the first part of the form. Then we're calling it legend. I'm putting it personal personal information. So that's that. So we're starting. So in between this P tag, I'll be putting my label. Like I told you, label is for identifying what should be in the input. So I'll be putting name. Like I'll just be using normal names here. So I'll be easy for us. I'll be using just name. Then we have the input. So basically what we use to put what is to enter the input for your name is normally text. So the type here we'll be using is input type text. As you can see, input type text. So I'll be also explaining others, but the first one you need to know is input type text. So this allows you to put only text in the input. So that's that. Then an input has various attributes that are very important to them. First one is the ID. So what this ID helps us do is a unique identifier, like I've explained before. It helps us identify the input you're talking about, and it also helps us to connect our input to our label. ID helps us connect our input to our label. So if I should write any ID here as, let's say, main, this is the ID here. If I want to connect this input to this ID and to this label, the ID of this input, I'll carry it and put the same name in this form. Putting it here, I've connected both of them automatically. So if I should go and refresh, as you can see, the form is being formed already. So if I should click on this name, automatically it tells me I should put information here, as you can see that. But here, these ones are not connected. If I should click, as you can see, nothing is displaying. Well, once I click on it, as you can see, it's already, I cannot put information there. So that's how to connect both your label and your input. The ID of your input, you give it to the labels for attributes. So that's that. Another important attribute of a form, we have the name attribute. So this name attribute is very, very important. Like when you're submitting your form and you want to know what you're submitting. No, when you're submitting your form and it's going to the back end, without this name attribute, you will not be able to know the particular informations or of the, like if there's something in this input. Let me explain. If there's something in this input, I should just put only this without giving this name attribute. It should just store this like this in the backend without giving it any name. So you can identify what type of information is this. So we have to give it um, an input of name. I mean, a name of name. Just a name of name. So we will give it a name, then give it some name. So this will help us identify this information at the back end. So using this as name here, nothing significant will happen. But when we submit it in our backend, once we submit this, it will display as name, then to now put, let's say, equal to, then to now show this information. When you now go to bracket and look, you now see name is equal to this, then you now know that this is your name. So that's that for name attribute. Then we have another one that is very, very important. We have the value. So what this value is just basically the same thing here. So as you can see, there is nothing here because there is no value here. Anything you're inputting inside your input value, inside your input element, is called a value. So you can either put it from the form here directly, or you can put it from your HTML code here. So if I should come and put a value of Gabriel, once I should refresh, what I'll see here will be Gabriel. Let me remove this. If I should refresh, what I'll see here is Gabriel. So as you can see, it's giving it a value of Gabriel. So sometimes people usually use these values as something to explain what the input is supposed to be like. But again, they have something they used to use and do that. But the value is what value is what the input is containing. What is inside the input, that's the value. So you can note that. It's very, very important. So we have another attribute again. That is the placeholder. So as the name implies, it will just be there telling you what you're supposed to put inside the, okay, let's removing the value because value will not allow us to see it. The placeholder will be there. So is either you use a value to do it, or you can use a placeholder to describe what you want the user to put inside there. So as you can see, the placeholder is here. It's showing slightly like this. So if I should click on this, I can write the placeholder goes, but the value is different. The value will be there, and if you want to input information, you have to remove the value before putting your own information. So that's that for value and placeholder. So the value is very, very important. I'll still keep on saying this. The value is very, very important because we use it in JavaScript to obtain the value of the input. So anything now I'm putting from this side of my web browser, this is also called a value. And the one we're also putting from this attribute side also called a value. So if this one is there, and you should ask computer what's the value of this input, without you putting anything, to take the one that is already here as the value. But once you should clean that one here and input anything here, this one automatically becomes the value. When you ask the computer what's the value of this input, so this one becomes the value. So that's that for value. So I want to check whether I'm missing out any attribute that you need. Okay. So as you can see, server uses to recognize each particular form field. Yeah, so it's here. Then we have the autofocus. So what the autofocus actually does is, once you refresh your browser, your website automatically focus you on like this particular site, telling you to fill it because this is important. We usually use this for important information. So if you don't want to miss it out, once you refresh, immediately we tell you to fill this first before you can fill any other part of the form. So that's what autofocus is. So just take it to where autofocus on it, like go to it immediately. It's telling you to fill out that particular part. So let's check for other ones. We have the disabled. So how disabled this as the name implies, it means that the input will not be functioning, to just be disabled. You cannot put anything inside, you cannot use it. So as you can see, I'm clicking on it to put something inside. It doesn't happen, so it's disabled. So that's what the disabled this is all about. Then you can be noting this down. Is you cannot cram all of them. I just know them because I've been using them. So we have the required. So as the name implies, if you're submitting your form and let's say this is unrequired, this information, this input has an attribute of required. Once you want to submit and this is empty, the form will not allow you to submit. That required will make it impossible for you to submit it if this place is empty. So you cannot give an input disabled and also give it required, because once it's disabled, computer cannot see it. So the required is just useless. So we should put required, although it might not show any listing because there is no submit button. But wait, let me click on the submit. Yeah, it does not. Let me put a submit button. Let's see. So I want to submit. As you can see, it's telling me please input information here. So I cannot submit it. So as that for required. So I want to check for other attributes that I'm missing out. So I've talked about the value. This read only is not that important. Okay, it's just, so what the read only does is, let's say I told you we can have values for input. So if I should put a value, or let us use the placeholder, I'll remove this required and set it to read only. From the name, read only means that the information there cannot be formatted or done with, tampered with. You can only read it. So that's how read only works. So you cannot do anything here. As you can see, it's read only. I cannot do anything here. So that's the read only attribute. We have the disabled. I've talked about disabled. We have the size. So size determines the amount of text, the amount of characters that can be inside the input. So let's say I have the attribute size here, size of 20. So characters means like from this label having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 letters. 5 letters means 5 characters. If you have space, there is also a character. So that's it for size. So I'll be going here to go and let's practicalize it. So I put 20 characters. So let's count. Let's see what's computer out for. So we have the first one. If we reach more than 20, it will not allow us to put more than 20 out. It will not allow computer allow us to put more than 20. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Oh yeah, I think there's a mistake. So let's I don't know why it's not working. Well, that's that. Although I don't normally use it that much. So you can still use JavaScript to manipulate the characters, making it not more than this, more than this. So we have the max length. So I'll still be talking about this max length. So I think it's in this max length that it will work. So let's say we have max length of 10. So let's play with max length of 10. Let's refresh. 1, 2. Let's refresh. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. As you can see, it does not show. So it's in this max length that I think prevents you from putting. So I think the size, what it does, once you have size of 20 and you have more than 20 characters, once your form is being submitted, it will collect the 20 characters from that name and the remaining extra ones that making it more than 20 and to throw them away, to not even store them. So that's that. So let's see. I told the spaces among 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. As you can see, spaces among. So spaces among the characters. So you can practice this and you learn. So we have other ones. I told you have the autofocus. So the autocomplete, as the name implies, once you set it to on, any if I have a form and you already filled something like that before, computer understand what you want to fill, it's autocomplete it for you. So it's not something we can be using. So these ones, I'm not talking about these ones. These ones are for JavaScript. But I'm talking about the form, then the height and width. The height and width is just to give your this thing. It's just to give these inputs height and width. It cannot be only this. You can make it very, very long. You can make it short. So that's that for height and width. You have the list. We have the multiple. We have the pattern. So I'm talking about this. So let's go to input types. So let's go to input types. So these are talking about the other different input attributes. So we have the input types. So we have the first input type as input text, input type text. So I've been talked about input type of text. So we have another one that is very, very important. I'm talking about them according to their importance. I'll not be taking all of them. It's not possible. I'm not talking. So as you can see, there are many. So anyone that is important, I'll talk about them. Then if they are not important, I'll just skip them, but you can still use them. So we have the input type password. So as the name implies, is for password. So it still looks like text, but it's still for password. So let me show you how it will look like. So let's have the first one as password type. So have input type password. So let's go and refresh. So let's be putting our label so that we'll be marking this. So I will not be confused. So that next class we'll be using this again. So I'll be removing this word. I don't want to make things very long. so for us. So I'll just be only using ID and 4 to be connecting them. So to make this easier for us. So we have the input type password. So let's go and refresh. So as you can see, we have our password. It is connected. It's connected. So if I put any password, we'll be seeing it here. I think it's in text. Yeah, it's in text. So it needs to be password. So we can see the difference between both of them. So password, the difference between both of them is if you're putting it, you'll not be seeing the text you're putting, to looking like the normal password is hiding from the user from seeing it. So with JavaScript you can make it visible. So it doesn't matter. So that's that for input type password. Then we have input type submit. So just like this one here, this we use it to create the submit button for our form. Submit type. We use it to create the submit button for our form. As you can see, it can have its own ID. So the value is what's going to show there. So let's go to our listing now. So as you can see, we have submit. This submit now inside here is the value, and this input type submit is working as a submission for this one. As far as inside this form is working as something that can use to submit this particular new form we've created. So that's for input type submit. So we have input type reset. Yeah, we have input type reset. So this is we use higher hand in hand with submit. If you don't want to submit your, we change the value to reset. If you don't want to, if you want to reset everything and clear everything you've input without being using your hand to do it one by one, use the input type reset. So if I should go and refresh, you have the reset. So if I should put anything here on the password, I put anything, click on the reset button, boom, voila, everything is being cleared. So that's for reset. We have the input type radio. So I told you about names. So we have the input type radio. So I told you about HTML. I mean input type, input attribute name. So this is very crucial in this input type radio. Very crucial. We need it here. So for each radio, we'll be changing this type to radio. So mind you, we have to change the ID to change it to, let's say, mango. Change this one to mango. I'll change the label to mango. So just follow what I'm just doing, so we'll also be practicing together. You'll be seeing them for yourself. I'll be also listening to what I'm saying. So we have the input type radio. It creates this radio like button. So as you can see, if I should click on the next one, the one I'll choose, the one that I was normally clicked will just go. So I'm showing you how to do that. So well, first we need to see how input type radio looks like. So let's go and refresh. As you can see, this is a clickable radio button. This is the mango. So I want to be placing this radio here before the label. So if I so let me show you something very unique about that connecting of stuff. So I connected this mango label to this radio input. So if I should click on this mango, instead of clicking on this directly, I can click on this mango and it's selected automatically. So that's something fun about connecting label to your listing. So if you want to separate, change the direction, you can put it like this. The input will come before the label. So as you can see, location it. So you can click on the mango is selected. So if we want to achieve something like this, when we click on this label, the other one that's been checked to go, click on this other one, the other one that's checked to go. It has to do with the name, attribute we give to it. So if you have three check buttons that are very very useful, you have to choose only one. You have three radio buttons that you have to choose only one. We give all of them the same name attribute. So we will not give them same ID, we will not give them same for only name attribute. So we're using fish here. I just want to be using short words. Fish. We have 4 fish. So it should be the same. ID is case sensitive as I told you. So you use capital letter here, use capital letter there. So we'll have here as dog. We have here as dog. We have here as dog. So we're going to go and refresh and see what we have achieved here. As you can see, boom guys, this is it. So if I should click on this dog, selecting this, if I should click on this, selecting this. So I don't want this. What I'll do, I'll give all of them the same name. So what I'll do, I'll give all of them the same name. So I'll giving them name of food. So all of them have the name of food. So once I should click, so once one of these is active, computer knows that an input to the name of this is already checked. If we should click on another one with this that same name, the other one with the other name will go while the other one will be clicked. So as you can see, I clicked on this is already gone. It's now going to the other new one. I click on this, going to this one. I click on this, going to this one. So that's that. So if you want to achieve this, you use this format. It's very important to know this. So let's comment here and call it radio type. So we have the next type. We have the next type as the checkbox. We have the next type as checkbox type. So I'll be copying this, so I'll be faster. So note the checkbox is far more different from this. You can check multiple this thing at the same time. You don't need to do what we did to the radio. You have to check one, then the other one will go out. So you can check multiple this thing at the same time. So we'll be changing all these radio types. Changing to checkbox. That's the name of this one. So I checkbox type. So checkbox. So if I should go and refresh, as you can see, it's far different. This one's a circle, this one's called radio. This one is checkbox. You can check. As you can see, you can check. Even though all of them have the same name, you can check them. So you can click on it again to uncheck. You can click on the. As you can see, this has the same ID and 4 with this one. So it's very wrong to have the same thing. So I have to change the 4. I'll just give them dot one. So you must have different ID. 2 elements can have the same ID. So don't mess that up. So checking this, checking that. So that's just the input type checkbox for you. So we have the next one, that's input type button. So just like the submit, you also it's just like a dormant button, but you can give it function with JavaScript. It's just a dormant button. So I'll just be using it, but to not have any function. This input type button, but I can give it function with JavaScript. So let's call the button in the value. So we have button here. So if I click on it, nothing much happens. So that's that for input type button. So we have other ones like the color, date, and still I'll be talking about all of them. Yeah, I have to talk about all of this so you can see the functions. So we have the next one as input type color. So we have the next input type as color type. So the color type is just like every other input. You put the input, but first let's use a label. Let's use a label. So that will be good at what we are doing. We can be able to differentiate them. So we changing the ID of this one to color. We're changing the ID, the four of this one to color, so we can connect both of them. Then we're changing the type to color. You're changing the name to color. Although I don't need to give it name, so I'm removing the name. So are we going here to refresh? As you can see, the color type brought out this box like stuff that looks black, because this black is the first color. But if I click on it, I can select any color I want and don't see it automatically. So that's that for color. If I click on this dog is connected, as you can see, you open it. So that's that. I'm changing the value to color. Let me change this one to color. So I'm changing to color. So that's that for input type color. Yeah, going to the next, we have input type date. Just as the name implies, it's just for putting dates. So heading on to that, still copying this. I'm making some changes. So we're having date here, then the label, we change the label for to date, because that will be given to the ID of the new label input. We're having, we have date as the ID, and the color have date. So mind you, we have three different ones. We have the date time, we have the date time local. So I'll just be showing us the three different dates and even the week one in this particular date one. So we'll be refreshing. We have, let's change the name to date. So this is what people use to do dates of birth in forms. So you want to do like a date of birth in your form, you use the date input type. So as this implies, you have the month, year, date, and the year. So as you can see, this is the calendar icon. When I click on it, I can select any date and it appears there. Voila. It appears there. Voila. So we also have the date time. So I'll be changing the type to date time. So we can see the different types of dates we can use. So you can make your own choice. So I don't know what this is basically used for. I've never used it before, so I cannot vouch for it. I don't know. So We have the date time local. Let's use the date time local. Date time local. So it has the date and also gives you the time. So you can select the time here, AM or PM. So that's that. So I think we also have the week for date too. We have the week. Yeah, we have the week. So you can select a full date with week. You can select the date with weeks, as you can see. You can select weeks. You can select day with weeks. So depends on what you want to do. You can use any of them. You can use week. You can use date, and you can use date time local. So you can use this tree to select your date you want. So you can practice this. So we have input type email. So as the name implies, it's just for your emails, nothing more, nothing less. It's just for your emails. So you have the email type. So what makes this specific and unique, just like a password, if you should put anything that is not an email, you cannot submit the form. Yeah, so anything that is an email will end with like at gmail.com or at yahoo.com, depending on the type of email you're using. So if you not put anything of that sort, it will not allow you to submit your form. So changing the for to email. So I like giving the for, the ID, everything the same name as the type. Depending on what I'm using. It's not must to give all of them the same ID and name like that, but I prefer using it sometimes when I feel that I don't have anything again that looks like that. So I just give all of them the same distance. So as you can see, we're going to go and refresh. Going to refresh. As you can see, brought out some this thing about email. So if I should put this number and I should submit the form, as you can see, it says please include at in the listing of this. So if I should include this at, it automatically takes that email because the email is okay at .com or something like that. Let's put at dot. Okay, so it must have at something dot. As you can see, here's at, then it will now have some information dot. So you have at yahoo.com, at email.com, depending on Outlook, depending on how the email format is. So this is the email, very specific and unique. We have another type of this, and that's the file. So I forgot to add one, that's the type of mode. So I'll be adding that I'll be adding that here. We have the type called mode. So as the name implies, it's just for it to select modes. Just for it to select all the modes. So just for it to select modes. That's just it. So we have the input type file. Yeah, file also. File. So we have the input type file. So basically what the input type file helps us to do is just to, where you have seen, like let's say in a computer where they are being told to upload something, then you click on the upload this and thing, tells you to choose and you choose and thing uploads, and that's what this file does. It will be like choose file, then you click on the choose file button, takes you to your local storage, and you choose what you want to choose. Then you now press enter, the thing automatically uploads there. So let's use the file type. So we have file here as the 4, then I have ID as file, and we have type as file. So we go into our Chrome to refresh. So going to refresh. As you can see, choose your file. Once I click, no file is choosing yet though. So if I click, it's coming. As you can see, let me just choose anyone. I click on open. As you can see, it's already uploaded here, which I can now access. It's only if I submit the form then to now submit it to where it's supposed to be submitted and one can see it there. So that's that. Then we have other types. So we skip the month. Yeah. So the last one I'll be treating today. Okay, it might not be the last, we still have more. So let me talk about this time. Also put it in this date. So we have the input type time. It's just like the date time, but this one will not include date. This one just have only time. So it's just have only time, as you can see, only time AM or PM, depending on what you want to do. So that's that for input type time. So where are we? When input type number. So this one is interesting. So input type number is very interesting. So as you can see, this is we'll be using some attributes here in the input type number and range. So I'll be using input type number, input type range here. So both of them are almost alike. So I don't need to be repeating things. They are almost alike. So we're starting with number here. I'll just put a break tag and put another label. So we have range and we have number. We'll have the 4 as range. I'll have the ID as range. So we have the ID, this number as number, and we have the type as number. I have the type as number. So let's go and refresh. Let's see the difference. So refreshing, we have the number. So you can put any number here till infinity. But we can set it. Let's say we want to put only numbers from 1 to 10. We can set it. Then this range, still the same thing. Okay, I made a mistake here in the range. It's supposed to be input type range. Yeah, you can see it. Input type range. So see the same thing as this number. You can set from any number to infinity, but this one specifically from 0 to 100. This is anything. Let's say this particular place where I stop is a number, so I cannot help you and view this. It's only JavaScript can use and do this. So you can select only a range of numbers from 0 to 100. So the attributes we can use there are both of them use. So one of the attributes is the mean and the max attribute. So the mean attributes mean the minimum number you can add, and the max attribute means the maximum number you can add. So for this number, we'll be having minimum as, let's say, 2. Then we have the max as 6. So let's set this one to mean 2, max 6. So let's refresh. As you can see, it ends at 6. This one is still from 2 to 6, so you cannot basically see the difference here. But you can see the thing is keeping somehow 0, 2, 4, 6, something like that. So we have what we call the step attribute. So the set of attribute, let's say, let me use analogy to like explain it. Let's say we want to count 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So from jumping, instead of counting 2, 3, 4, that jumping from two, counting in twos, is what we call step. So we are stepping in twos. We are stepping after every two lessons. So when you have your mean, let's say we have a mean of 1, I want to step in twos. So that means we will now be stepping in odd numbers. So we have a mean of 0, and we start stepping in twos. We have a mean of even numbers. So if you have a mean of, let's say, minus 1000, and you still step in twos, you can still step in 10, you can step any amount, it depends on you. So let's practice it. So we'll step 0.5. So it will be increasing for every 0.5. So you have 2, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the thing is approximating it. So you can use JavaScript to manipulate this and remove it. So I'll just be using something convenient we can see. So I'm using 10 as the mean. I'm using 106 as the listing. Then I'm using the step as 10. So I'll be going 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. Like that. So let's do it. You have 10. No, no. Oh yeah, I put this in the range. So that's the mistake I normally make. So I have 100 here. This was 100. Here is 10. Then we have a step as 10. So coming here, we're having 1, 2, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. 100 is the max to stop there. So that's that for input type, number, and range. So you can practice this. So we have the input type search. So just create a normal typical search bar we normally should see on our website. That's what the input type search does. So this one is number, and range type. So we're going to do the input type. Input type search. So we have input type search, and we have the search as the ID. We also have the search as the for. I'll come here, I'll have the search as the label. So let's go to here and refresh. As you can see, we have the search. Typically you cannot just see anything here. So if you have search, if you click on the submit button to typically search it, depending on how you manipulate it with JavaScript. So we'll leave that. We'll not be talking much on that. So we have our next type, the tail type. So this is just phone number. Like I told you that we have input type for phone number. So for this type of input, we only put phone numbers inside there. So nothing different. So just put the phone numbers, and we have a pattern. So we have a pattern of phone number. So it depends on the pattern. This will be like another topic for another day, but let's say when you're doing JavaScript, I'll teach you pattern, but we'll not be using it here. I don't think I'll be teaching you pattern. For if I start going into pattern, it's very, very long. So we'll be leaving pattern. It's the topic in JavaScript I'll be teaching you you learn pattern altogether. So as you can see, we have only tell and URL remaining. So tell is just for a typical phone number. So with the help of the pattern, we can know how our phone number will look like. So we have the phone, so we have the phone type. So we come here and put our phone. Put your phone number, ID of phone, type of phone, for of phone. As you can see, I made mistake here. Nobody corrected me, so I have to correct myself. So it's type of tel. So tel is the name. So refreshing, as you can see, this is a phone number input. So if I click on it, what you see as the preference is only phone numbers. So it's where you can put phone numbers. So that's that. So and we have the input type URL. It's just where you can put your URL to, but you just put your HTTP first for you before any other thing. So we have our input type URL. We have our input type URL. We have URL here. We have URL here. We have URL here. We have URL here. So I'm going to go and refresh. So just for putting a link, input type. So just for putting a link, nothing too special there. So that's that for all the whole main types. At least I explained, I touched almost all of them. So do so to just practice. If you don't practice, that's not you, not for me. So I'll be treating the rest of the input attributes. So let's just touch on the ones maybe we might have forgotten. So, so the one I didn't touch now was autofocus and form. Yeah, I said I'm going to touch on autofocus and form. And maybe yeah, I'm talking about only autofocus and form. So okay, yeah. I think I touched autofocus. Yes, I touched autofocus. It was autocomplete. But autocomplete, I told you, is just something you already know. Then we have the last attribute, which is the form attribute. So you have to do this for all the whole inputs as you're seeing them. You have to do this for all the whole inputs. It's very, very important if you're doing backend. You have to just come for your input. You come as an attribute to write the form. So what will be in this form value is the ID of the form. So if the form has an ID of form, so you carry that ID and put it here. So what this does is telling computer, hey computer, this input belongs to this particular form. So anything that happens to it, if the form is being submitted, it should also carry the information from the input and carry it and go and submit it any place where you want to submit it. So that's what this form attribute is. So that's that for input and input types and label. So do well to practice. If you don't practice, you just be wasting your own time, not mine. So practice. Love.